Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. Multiple surveys show that at least 40% of workers have some kind of side job. That number goes way up for younger employees. Various factors are driving the trend. Money to cover bills is among the top, but some employees are also looking to expand their skills and experience. And workers who take on side hustles have different expectations from their employers. We'll look at the trend with Native people with side hustles, coming up after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. This year's 29 Bush Fellows included 5 Native Americans from across the upper Midwest. The Bush Fellowship provides up to $150,000 over 2 years for fellows to hone their talents and leadership skills. In the 5th of 5 profiles, Brian Bull of Buffalo's Fire reports on a White Earth tribal administrator who wants to best serve his community.
Curtis Rogers is the Deputy Director of the White Earth Nation of Minnesota. He works with 1,300 employees who serve the tribe's 17,000 citizens and covers everything from public safety to economic development. In addition to that, he's also a husband and family man. With his Bush Fellowship, Rogers says he'd like to level up with a law degree.
And that's because every single day we have people that are coming to us, and there's all kinds of jurisdictional questions. There's the big land back issues that we're facing continuously. We're the tax and tribal sovereignty. And I just want to lead and make decisions that are best.
Rogers remembers his family growing up in the projects of the White Earth Reservation and struggling to make ends meet. He says he aims to help his people any way he can, and part of that plan will be to help the tribe regain some of its state forest. Rogers says he hopes to start law school in the fall of 2026. For National Native News, I'm Brian Bull.
In one Dene family, there had not been a ceremony for girls coming of age for 3 generations. Then a group of aunties, mothers, and daughters came together to restore it. First, just for family, and then for all young Alaska Native women interested in learning. They presented their work at the annual Elders and Youth Conference this fall in Anchorage. The Alaska Desk's Ayolna Naiden reports.
14-year-old Manu David is pouring hot tea blended by hand. She brings cups to women of all ages during a workshop at the Elders and Youth Conference. David and other girls made these teas during a gathering for girls coming of age called Nadoye Dayan. Her family has been reviving this Dene tradition through sharing circles. They also harvest plant medicine, make their own body products, and work on traditional skills.
It's really fun. It's just like everybody gets together and we just share anything and everything.
Helena Jacobs is one of the women leading the event and has been working with the girls during Nadoye Dayan.
The work that we're doing with them right now is healing multiple generations.
Her family started to gather every few months. And about a year ago, they transitioned the family gatherings into a community event for teenage girls.
To just empower them with knowledge about their bodies and just surround them with a lot of love and support throughout these big transitions in life that can sometimes feel kind of scary or isolating.
Kimalik Teeter is Yupik and Chupik from St. Mary's. She says she came to the workshop because she wanted to learn how to guide her 4-year-old daughter. She realized that she herself still wants guidance.
You get of age of different things all throughout your life.
Teeter says that in Yupik culture, the ceremonies celebrate different milestones. Like when a woman catches her first fish, makes her first thing, and has her first baby. Teeter says that the workshop reminded her that it's not too late to honor transitions in her life.
Maybe, deep down, I just really wanted this for me, not just for my baby. So, Oyana.
The workshop closed with 2 activities. Women and girls wrote affirmation for themselves and others and connected them by a string. They also made heating pads filled with rice and fragrances. In Anchorage, I am Ayolna Naiden.
And I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by AARP, whose Family Caregiver Resource Guide is available to caregivers by calling 877-333-5885 or at aarp.org/caregiverresources. Support from Clarkson Potter, publisher of Turtle Island, Foods and Traditions of the Indigenous Peoples of North America by Native American chef Sean Sherman. With ancestral and modern recipes, this cookbook showcases diverse foodways of the continent's regions.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. Workers taking on one or more extra jobs is becoming the norm, especially among Gen Z and millennial workers. Money is a major factor. A survey from June by the American Staffing Association finds almost 2/3 of adults are looking to get a second job or start a side hustle in the next year because of economic uncertainties. And the Bureau of Labor and Statistics reported this year that more employers are cutting hours. But those who take on other jobs also see it as a way to build new skills and experience. We'll talk with some of these people who are working multiple jobs about the ups and downs of juggling a side hustle. You can join our conversation too. Have you recently taken on a second or a third job to make ends meet? How long do you expect that to last? Or does the juggling of multiple jobs allow you more freedom to pursue your personal passions or entrepreneurial goals? Give us a call, 1-800-996-2848, and tell us why you're working beyond that regular 8 to 5 routine. That number is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. Joining us now from Lapwai, Idaho is Michaela Thompson. She's the owner of Beadwork by Michaela and also the owner of Indigenous Creatives LLC. She is Nimipu. Michaela, good morning and welcome back to Native America Calling.
Papamawi, good morning. It's good to hear from you, Sean.
Good to have you, Michaela. Joining us from Okanagan, Washington is Roxanne Best. She is a business owner and founder of Our Best Life Yoga and Coaching. She's a member of the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. Roxanne, good morning and welcome back to you as well.
Hey, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Joining us in our Albuquerque, New Mexico studio, we have Roberta Begay. She is the owner and artist of Bitterwater Gallery, and she is Dene. Roberta, hello, and welcome to Native America Calling.
Yate, thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
Yate. It's great to have you, Roberta. And joining us from Bernalillo, New Mexico, just up the road from Albuquerque, is Stephanie Garcia. She is the owner of Pueblo Creations and Pueblo Collective Enterprise. She is Santo Domingo, Laguna, and Isleta Pueblo. Stephanie, welcome to Native America Calling. Good to have you on the show today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have all of you on the show. And Michaela, I want to begin with you. You took on a side job. Why?
Yeah. So when I first my side hustle has became my main hustle. So when I was first starting out as a beadwork artist, that was something that I kind of just did on the side. I had, at the time, had 3 to 4 jobs, and of course, obviously, as much income as you can get is the goal. So that's what I was doing. Fast forward to where that's my main hustle. I also have another business. I still have a side hustle. I'm actively doing a side hustle, and I think the main reason for that is obviously the economy that we're in can be so unpredictable, and with all of these costs kind of raising, it's good to feel secure. I think that's just the foundation as to why anybody gains another stream of income. But for me personally, having 2 businesses and, that are based on creativity, by not having that flexibility to be creative and just focusing on making or doing things to make ends meet, it kind of takes that creativity away. So having a side hustle now and being tapped in with my tribe, because my job is working with my tribe, that's my side hustle. Being able to do that, it's able to provide a comfortable and safe stream of income while I am able to grow and expand on those businesses in a creative way.
Michaela, this sounds really inspiring, but it also sounds like you're really busy. I'm curious to know how you're able to balance these different jobs and about how much time do you devote to each one every week?
I think balance is probably my ongoing struggle, but each week, I work on everything all at once in a sense, and I try to kind of create, like I said, multiple streams of income, which are in a sense side hustles on my own terms. So being able to making sure I'm having an appropriate staff for these projects that are coming in, that takes the load off of me, making sure that I don't have to actively be beating in that kind of business, being able to find other passive ways to put my creativity to work, whether it's merchandise and just finding other avenues to where I can take the load off but still maintain a stream of income, or making sure that I have an income coming in. That's kind of my goal. So balancing all of that in personal life has been a challenge, but it's also finding kind of those moments within the work, whether it's having to travel or doing an event, or just trusting in my team to handle things when I need it to. So I try to find those pockets where I need to, but then also make sure, hey, this is the cutoff point. We don't need to work all night every single day. So it's just being very much aware of what my body needs, and just what I need in general, and putting that first when I need to.
Now, do you see this as a long-term career strategy, or at some point in the future, are you planning to specialize or focus on just one of these specific jobs?
No, I think I want to keep my goal is my long-term goal is to have my creative agency be the kind of the foundation of what I do. Art, that's not going anywhere. That's just something I genuinely have a passion for, and I'll continue to do, whether it brings in an income or not long-term. But I definitely want to make sure that, I'm leaving my imprint where I need to, and I'm becoming a resource for my community. And so being able to trust in people and learn from others is kind of what's going to keep it going. So in the long run, I want to make sure that my business is continuing to thrive with or without me. But I don't want to be having multiple. I don't want to be completely bogged down every single day with multiple things to do. That's definitely not the goal.
I can imagine.
To not working to make money. Yes.
For sure. Now, you work with a lot of other artists and creatives. Do you find that many of these folks are also doing side hustles or taking on additional jobs for extra income?
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of the people that we work with are contractors. So what we specifically do, to kind of quickly run through it, is as a creative agency, we specialize in marketing, media, and events. So we take whatever our clients needs within that realm, which really comes down to photography, videography, event documentation, event planning, so on and so forth, anything that takes creativity. And then we go out and we specifically choose which Indigenous creatives would be perfect for that project. So we kind of assemble that creative team, and then they execute the project. And so a lot of those contractors and creatives that we work with, their passion and what they're doing, that's what we're hiring them for. But many of them do have jobs that they take on full time. And so our goal and the whole point kind of the agency is really built around helping Native artists and entrepreneurs grow beyond the side hustle stage and kind of turn that part-time creative work into sustainable income. But it's something that they have to do while they kind of get off the ground, or they're in those beginning stages, because it's a lot. I mean, if it's specifically a business that they're, trying to pursue, and their passion that they're trying to pursue, there's a lot that comes with that besides just going out and doing it. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of the business side and admin side of it that they have to do. So for creatives that just aren't ready to really take that leap, that's kind of what we're here for. And I've realized that by them having that full-time job, it allows them to be able to get the equipment that they need, or just kind of making sure that they can still do what they want to do without having to stress the financials.
Thanks, Michaela. Roxanne Best, what are your thoughts? Now, you work also with different Native small business owners. How important is it, and how common is it in your work to find people starting businesses still maintaining full-time jobs?
It's almost across the board. Just about everybody who's looking at starting a business has a job, and they're trying to either supplement the income that they have, or they're wanting to, go into that space of entrepreneurship where they're the leaders, they're the ones making the decisions, and it's very common.
What are some typical types of side hustles or small businesses that you find people are really interested in starting, Roxanne?
Oh gosh, like the first thing that pops to mind is like lawn care businesses and construction and food trucks. And I do a lot of work with artists as well who are looking to like expand their art business or art hobby into a business. So those, like, it's a lot of artists and like food and lawn care is what I see a lot of.
Okay. Michaela, back to you. I'm also curious to know about different generations, specifically Gen Z and millennials. Do you get any sense from younger people that the freedom and flexibility of being in a side hustle or having some type of sideline entrepreneurial endeavor is a big part of the goal here in terms of why people are choosing this option?
I feel like, I mean, a lot of the people that we do work with, they're within, they are millennials and they are part of that Gen Z. And I think the beautiful part about that is they're kind of not taking no for an answer, and they're like, hey, these are the things that we want to do, and these are the things that we are passionate about. And that those generations, they see things going on, and they're very quick to speak out about it. And that's kind of what we want. We want to be able to see that passion and kind of that go-getter attitude. And so a lot of those that we work with, that's exactly what they have. So I completely understand it. And I think during COVID especially, a lot of people kind of just jumped into finding their passions and finding their creativity. And I feel like it's a lot. I've noticed a lot of people, they're just kind of going for what they want, or they're just trying new things. And they kind of have certain standards as to what they choose to do for that side hustle and what they choose to do to bring in an income. So it's been really cool to kind of see both of those generations just plunge into the things that they love to do and finding ways to make money at it, because you really can do anything you want and just find a way to make money at it. There's people that are interested in absolutely anything and everything. So it's been great to kind of see that unfold and see more, especially Native entrepreneurs and BIPOC entrepreneurs, tap into that.
We are talking about side hustles today. Native people who have side gigs, side jobs, second jobs, or whatever you want to call this, but they have extra income coming in from a variety of sources. And we're learning about what motivates these people, what inspires them, what the challenges are, what the opportunities are. Give us a call if you want to join us, 1-800-99-NATIVE. Tribes are increasingly working to expand casino gaming to include online sports betting, but the rules, mainly over where those bets take place, are not yet settled. Tribes in at least 2 states are working to clarify those rules. We'll find out more about the evolution of tribal sports betting on the next Native America Calling.
Support provided by Amerind. Amerind is 100% tribally owned and partners with tribes and their businesses to provide affordable commercial insurance coverage, protect tribal sovereignty, and strengthen Native American communities by helping to keep dollars in Indian country. Information about property, liability, commercial auto, and workers' comp available at Amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
You are listening to Native America Calling. For some working adults, one job just isn't enough to make ends meet. For others, side hustles are a way to pursue their passions. We're talking with Native people today about balancing their main job with side hustles, all part of the contemporary gig economy. Do you work multiple jobs? Give us a call. Tell us what keeps you on the clock beyond the regular 8 hours. We're at 1-800-996-2848. That number is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. One of our guests on the line right now, Roxanne Best, is the founder of Our Best Life Yoga and Coaching. She's in Okanagan, Washington. And Roxanne, before the break, you mentioned that a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that you work with, they're focused on gigs like lawn care and food service. And I'm interested to know, what about some of these other modern side gigs that are really designed specifically for this modern gig economy we're talking about. I'm thinking about like Uber drivers and DoorDash delivery drivers. Where do those all fit in?
Yeah, in the classes that I'm teaching, I don't see a lot of people looking at that as like a career or like anything aside from just being a way to supplement their regular job, their income, because it's something they can do during off hours and they can decide when they're going to be available to work. And I think it's something that's really viable even in a small community like the one I live in. They have drivers that deliver groceries and different things like that around here, which seems to be becoming very popular.
Roxanne, what about employers? What do they need to be mindful of here in this conversation? And especially with regard to maybe just having an incentive to keep employees fresh and focused on the job, because it sounds like a lot of people right now, they're juggling a lot of priorities, and it might be hard for them to really focus on one specific job at a time.
Yeah, that's such a great question, and you're making my brain cells like dance around to try to find a really concise answer, because it's a big question. And I think employers have to really look at, like, instead of looking at things through the traditional way of like employee-employer relationship, it's more of a partnership, so that employees feel empowered to be a part of a team versus just a person who's collecting a paycheck. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people are looking to start their own businesses, because they want to create that more community team, like we're working together for the greater good versus we're working for somebody who's just writing or signing our checks. So
now, do you find
that community. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Now, do you ever find employers that push back and are like, wait a minute, we're your employer. We write your checks. We sign your checks. We really want you to focus on our job, on what we hire you to do. And if so, how does a gig worker navigate that type of dynamic?
I think it's a generational thing, like you were asking Michaela about like the Gen Z and Gen Xers, and sorry, that's my generation. I'm a Gen Xer, so like we're like in between that age group where you get a job and you stay in that job and you retire from that job and you have retirement, and whether you were happy or unhappy in that job, you just did it, and because it was how you made a living. And today, employers, at the younger employers that I'm meeting are really open to the idea that, these folks maybe aren't going to be here forever. So, utilizing the skills that they bring to the table and being able to look at themselves more as a mentor and understanding that these folks aren't going to be here for 30 plus years, and that most likely they're a couple of years and then they're going to move on to the next thing. And the pushback is just, as an employer, it's an investment into an employee. But at the same time, looking at what the employee has to offer. And if you are the employee as a gig worker, just, being mindful of the expense and the effort that goes into hiring an employee. And, so there's a mutual respect there that has to occur in order for that relationship to be fruitful for everybody.
Thanks, Roxanne. Yeah, fruitful for everyone. That's the key, I think, here for sure. Let's go to the phones. We have Brad, who is listening in Eagle River, Alaska on KNBA Radio. Good morning, Brad. What's your comment?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great.
It's really interesting to hear the perspectives that have been shared so far this morning. So I've lived in the Anchorage area for 12, 13 years, and I was a social worker for a number of years at Cook Inlet Tribal Council, working and supporting Alaska Native families here. And I always had a side hustle that I was working on a tour company I was trying to launch. And I guess my comment is that over the years, like I'm at a launching point now with this company, and I do international education and pen pals, and I'm working with kids in Kenya that built a dog sled, like these really, really cool things. And as the side hustle is getting to a point that it'll become my full-time income, to-go hustle. It's a beautiful thing to see the circle that the work I was doing, and normally in all of my jobs along the way, is like connected to what I want to launch as my own enterprise, as my own employer, and to do something good in the world and be financially beneficial for myself at the same time. So it's very, very encouraging. And I think it's really when we choose our work and our career path, it coincides with what our values are and what we really try to do to make the world a better place. And I think you'll find paid employers that will pay you to do that. And then eventually it works into its shape, when you're ready to launch your own platform. And that could be absolutely anything, that could be marketable and ethical, basically. So I don't know. I think that's really, really awesome. And I think, like, listening to Michaela and the organization that she worked for, I would love to reach out to folks there. And it's just all about bringing people together. And, we have the internet now to share those platforms.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. It sounds like you've really got it figured out in terms of just, pursuing your passions and making these projects and these side hustles all kind of blend together, and just this overall lifestyle that you have going on. And Roxanne, I want to ask you to comment a little bit, because it sounds like for a lot of folks, the goal at some point is to make the side hustle a main career. And if that is the goal, when does a person know? When can they safely take that jump from letting go of that regular job, that stability, and going full time into being an entrepreneur? How do you coach people to recognize when that opportunity presents itself?
Well, one, it's based on, it depends on where they're at financially, because they have to look at their budget and what income they're making from their job. And typically the advice is, once your business is matching what you're making in your job, both with benefits and your pay, and you're able to continue paying your bills and keep the business operating and pay your bills and keep your business operating, then it's an ideal time to start to transition out of your 9-to-5 job, for lack of a better way to put it, and just go all in on your business. And again, it's an awareness of where you're at financially. And some people don't have to worry about that so much, and they can just transition out of the job and build it up and build the infrastructure and revenue while they're all being supported by a partner or somebody else. So that's something I'm seeing a lot too in the younger generations, is we're going back to like the younger kids living at home a lot longer and working and building their businesses, and then when they get stable, then moving out. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it really is. Roxanne, your business began as a side hustle. Why did you start it at the time, and when did you know you were in a position that you could make it a full-time career?
Yeah, so my business, I started as a photographer as a side hustle because I just was passionate about it, and I started as a scuba diving instructor, and I was doing underwater photo and video as a dive instructor, and I just fell in love with it, and it was just a creative outlet and something that I just really enjoyed doing. And I was like, yeah, if I can make a little extra money and pay down some debt, specifically student loans, then, what a great opportunity. And so that's what it started as. And then, unfortunately, I was like released from my position, and then, out of survival and just making things work, I built the business that I have now.
What about burnout? I imagine there's a real risk that people will just run out of bandwidth here. And when you coach people, how do you work them through that whole issue as well?
Yeah, no, that's a real live thing that's happening across the board with a giant portion of the brand new entrepreneurs and the business owners that are looking to expand. And I've seen it so frequently that I'm launching a coaching program called Recovering Data, which it's DATTA, Recovering Do All the Things Addicts. And it's just specifically address the burnout that happens in businesses, because if we don't have a clear plan and we don't know what we want to do, we have, I call them energy leaks, where we're just putting so much energy into a lot of different things, hoping something lands, versus when we can go and ground it in what matters to us most. And I love that the caller mentioned values and purpose, because the program, once you're rooted in values and you know your purpose, it's really easy to navigate any spaces and reduce the amount of energy leaks, which lead to the burnout that you're referencing. And, so having a really good business plan and having really clear goals and, staying rooted in what's important to you is like the key factors to help navigate and avoid burnout. And also understanding the balance between, working, family, and your physical, spiritual, and emotional health is so important. And it's something that we often overlook. And I'm guilty of it myself. And I know probably everybody on this call right now is as well. And we've all experienced that, there's so many things to do and not enough time to do it. And how do we prioritize? I call it task triage. And, you kind of have to prioritize, some things can just wait until next quarter or just not happen at all. So just talking about it is making my heart race, but it's a real thing, especially as business owners coming into the end of the year. We're looking at, okay, what are we going to do in 2026? And December, if you're a product business, it's a busy time for you. And, you're doing markets, you're having sales and promotions because, this is a time when we're supposed to be slowing down, but a lot of us are speeding up.
All right. I really like that phrase, task triage. I can relate to that on a lot of levels. 1-800-996-2848. Listeners, do you have a side hustle, a side gig? Are you part of the gig economy? Give us a call. We want to hear what your story is. 1-800-99-NATIVE. Our next guest, Roberta Begay. She joins us from our Albuquerque, New Mexico studio. She's the owner of Bitterwater Gallery. Roberta, tell us more about your side hustle.
Oops. Sorry, I kind of froze for a second. My side hustle is my painting. It's my artwork. It's who I am. Once I put myself out there, you're not just investing in my artwork, but you're also investing in me, is what I like to tell people. So my company is Bitterwater Gallery, and it's all based with what I do and what I make. And what I started out doing was being a painter. And over these couple of years, I started expanding and wanting to learn, and now I consider myself a multidisciplinary artist as well.
I'm looking at your website right now, painting. You also do jewelry, lots of different artwork that you're involved in. What do you consider your priority, Roberta, in terms of your art and just your overall view towards this career?
My priority is just getting me out there. I always tell people that when I was up in Taos recently for an artist residency, I was joking with my friend. I'm like, Taos is going to know who Roberta Begay is. And they kind of did. And then my goal is always just to be, no matter where I am, is to let people know who I am and why I'm here and what I'm about and what we can possibly collaborate on. I love to network. I like to network. So at any time, if anybody is interested in what I have to say, just always look me up. You can always Google me and reach out from there.
And Roberta, what are some of the biggest challenges you face? Because I'm curious to know, what do you wish you had known before you started this work now as an artist and an entrepreneur? Is there something that you wish somebody had told you or you had training on before this all started for you?
No, I don't. I've been very blessed and lucky that coming to know people and reaching out, people have helped me along in my journey, and that's a huge blessing for me. And I think a lot of that comes from who we are as Natives. We reach out to people, we help people out, and in turn, that's what I like to put out for myself as well. If somebody doesn't know anything, like, hey, just little tips of the trade with painting or with silversmithing or with sculpture work, there's always those little tips. It's not a secret, and I try to be as generous with that knowledge that was shared with me back to people who are wanting to rise, wanting to learn. And that's just my way of giving back. And like I said, I've been blessed with the support and love from others, and I appreciate that a lot. So, and everything that we do, everything that I do, I believe comes within its own time. So I don't want to put that negativity out there as to wishing something happened earlier or the coulda, woulda, shoulda. I avoid that. And everything happens in our journey for a reason at its own time. Creator gives when in challenges.
Yeah. I really like the way you described that, Roberta. We need to take another break. We're going to come back. We'll continue this conversation. And listeners, the phone number, 1-800-996-2848, if you would like to join the conversation. Maybe you are one of these 2/3 of adults who are looking to get a second job or start a side hustle in the next year, and you've got questions, you've got concerns, you'd like to know what some of the challenges you might face are, what are the potential opportunities. We have people on the show today who can provide answers, who have that expertise and experience. They're waiting for your call. So am I. 1-800-996-2848. Pick up the phone. Call us now. 1-800-996-2848. We'll be right back.
Support for journalism that raises the awareness of child well-being to citizens and to policymakers provided by the Annie E. Casey Foundation, building a brighter future for children, families, and communities. Information at aecf.org.
Need an actionable plan to achieve your goals? Kaufman & Associates strengthens Native organizations through culturally grounded strategic planning. More at kaufmaninc.com. KAUFFMANINC.com.
This is Native America Calling, and we are talking about managing your side hustle or juggling multiple jobs. Still, plenty of time for you to join today's conversation. Call us at 1-800-996-2848. That number is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. One of our guests today, Roberta Begay. She is in our Albuquerque studio, and she's the owner and artist at Bitterwater Gallery in Albuquerque. And Roberta, we've been talking a lot about the challenges, the stress of balancing, a big career like this and side hustles. Can you offer any tips or tricks for how you keep everything balanced in your life and your career?
Yeah, I guess the number one thing is don't lose yourself, and communicate to your friends and your family members about what you're going through. Because stress is a huge thing, and mental health is a huge priority as well that we need to prioritize. And just take that time for yourself. Take that time to do something you enjoy, even if you have these deadlines that are coming up and your brain is constantly working. You're like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to prioritize. And learning how to delegate is a huge one also. You can't do everything. So learn how to delegate. Trust your team. Trust the people that you have around you when you're building your team, and just take that time for yourself. If you like to go run, go work out, go do something you enjoy. Paint. When I'm busy with my other side hustles, if I'm not doing the painting and I'm constantly on my laptop, I'm constantly in meetings or making phone calls, talking business, networking, navigating around that world, and then I tend to not do as much as I would like working out. So I try to make time to do that. Also, my artwork takes a little. I end up putting that off to the side as well. So I make time to do some artwork and get back into that to bring that balance back.
Roberta, about how many hours a week do you think you work?
I'm constantly working. This is work for me, and right after I leave, I have a meeting. I'm going to be working. I'm always up. If I'm not scheduling the next day or the next week or thinking about the next year, the coming year, and then I am painting. And if I am comfortable where I am to paint, then, and if I have time, and then I will paint until like 2, 3, 4 o'clock. Sometimes I watch the sunrise when I have time to paint, and then I get up and do it the next day again.
It doesn't sound like, though, it necessarily feels like work to you. It sounds like a lot of this is just stuff you'd be doing it even if it wasn't your career. You would be engaged in these activities.
I would be engaged, and a lot of this is passion. And it's not even just like right now, there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing that I'm not getting paid for. And to me, it's not something that's in the back of my head to where I need that money. For me, it's not always about the money. Money will come and go, and also it really isn't about the money. It's about the passion. It's about the people. It's about the connections I make. And if it doesn't align with what I believe in and what I stand for, then no amount of money you present to me or try to give me is not going to budge. It's not going to make a difference for me. And so what I also like to do is highlight a lot of artists that I'm connecting with and I like to work with and try to help them out as well.
Roberta, working multiple jobs, do you think that broadens a person's skills and makes them more marketable to employers?
I think so. It does. And it also depends on the person, on how much you want to put yourself out there. One of the things I try to tell people is you have to talk about yourself. You have to let people know what you're about. You have to just talk. I had a hard time talking about my artwork in the beginning years ago. And I was always asked, like, well, what does this represent? And I was always just coming back with, well, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just pictures and I just paint. But I realized that the more I've talked about it, spoke on it, and I did have a lot to talk about. Like, it all connects back to stories about my home and the way I grew up and stuff, and taking on multiple hustles or different jobs and stuff. If you're open to it, there's just more learning that you can do. Like, I'm constantly learning, and I don't ever want that to stop. There's always something for me to learn, and there's always something for me not just to learn like on the Google and the YouTube or a class I'm taking, but also just learning from people and being mentored.
Thanks, Roberta. 1-800-99-NATIVE. We still have time. If any listeners would like to join the conversation, we can get another call in or two. If you're quick to grab that phone, and call 1-800-99-NATIVE. Let's talk now with Stephanie Garcia. She is in Bernalillo, New Mexico. She is the owner of Pueblo Creations and Pueblo Collective Enterprise. And Stephanie, thanks again for joining the show. And your business here, Pueblo Creations, you have an online store along with a physical location in Bernalillo, New Mexico, and you also have a full-time job. Which one of these do you consider your side hustle?
It would be my sewing. You know, along with running 2 businesses, I also teach sewing classes through Zoom and in person. So, you know, the sewing classes is my side hustle to keep my income flowing, you know, with the 2 businesses I have. What I did with Pueblo Creations was the investment that I made during the pandemic is when that came about. And then Pueblo Collective Enterprise is fairly new. We launched October 4th, and all I did was invest back into myself, but bringing more of our Pueblo community artists together in this one location. You know, community involvement, artists, you know, us working together. We're all hustlers, you know, side hustles, all that. But Pueblo Collective Enterprise, you know, tells a story about our handcrafted jewelry, our pottery textiles, and all the other artists that we have here.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, my phone's ringing. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay. I wasn't
no
sure if
worries,
it came on. But like I said, I invested back in myself, and that's what I do. So my sewing classes, teaching, and also mentoring the adults and youth. I work with other organizations who provide me with interns throughout the year, and during the summer I have the youth. So they help me in keeping my 2 stores open. Right now, Public Creations is just online. It's not in store because I'm focused on my new one right now, which is the Enterprise, Public Collective Enterprise. But also it's being run by my intern while I'm also teaching at night and, just hosting workshops in person throughout the day.
Stephanie, I think a big step here for a person who is self-employed or an entrepreneur is when you reach that point when you need to hire other people to assist you. And you have employees. How does that work? What are the challenges? What do you need to be mindful of when you take that step and you begin hiring people to work for you?
What their passion is. I want them to be happy. I can't just bring somebody in here who's not passionate about the artwork, or I also have to train them. I have to teach them, educate. We're all educating ourselves, with the different mediums of art that we sell here. So, but my main goal is to make sure that my employees are happy, and that they're well taken care of. Family first. I consider it a family thing, and so I look at, their attendance. Are they going to be able to be here when I'm not here? Because they are my backbone. They're my backup. And so just, we did some interviews for some part-time help because having 6 interns here right now has not been enough to cover the hours that we have for the enterprise. So we've reached out to hire a part-time associate. I kind of stepped out of the interviews and let the 2 main interns that I consider my backbones here right now do the interviews, to teach them to get that training in. Also, a lot of applicants were people that I associate with, and it's not a friend involvement thing, a family thing. So yes, I stepped out of it because I want it to be fair, equal, and like I said, it's business. And so, I didn't want my family to be like, oh, well, I know her. And that kind of happened that day. They're like, well, I know her. She's my relative. And, so, but yeah, I look at all that, are you going to be able to, cover me? You're going to be my backbone to my business to keep it open when I'm not there.
Okay. That's a really good point to make, especially when we think of, how large and extended many of our families are. You need to definitely know how to set those boundaries. Let's take another call. This is Ronnie, who is in Yakima Nation, Washington State, listening on KYNR. Good morning, Ronnie. You're on the air.
Hey, Shekmaitsky. I just more or less have, I guess, would be a comment, I guess, not a question, but, talking about side hustles, but I guess I'm talking about the guy or the gal that has to hustle actually to make ends meet. I mean, they take jobs and, they're not more or less entrepreneurial, but they're having to take jobs that they need to do to bring in that extra money in order for their family to survive. Like when I was a kid, I worked, but I had a side hustle. I started reffing being a basketball official. And so it took me nights and weekends and stuff like that and all that stuff. But, and I think that, a lot of people that, maybe that need to hear this are probably not listening because they're working. And so I think I think the economy is, has pushed it that way for some people who are not able or capable of being able to look out for their own business, but are having, in order to survive, to take jobs like to be a night watchman or a night janitor or something that they're not really, wanting to do, but having to do. And I think that, I guess I just wanted to express that as more or less a feeling that I have about when we're talking about side hustles.
That's a really good point.
Either comment on that or not, Sean, but thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely, Ronnie, because you're absolutely right. For some folks, it's not necessarily a passion here, but it is a necessity. Stephanie, what are your thoughts on that with regard to folks that it's not about pursuing this vision or having this artistic, creative license to have a business, but they really need that extra money and they need to make ends meet?
Well, exactly. Not everybody, it's about survival right now, and so that's kind of like where my enterprise falls back into. We have elders here, we have youth artists here. A lot of them are trying to make ends meet, not only with their main jobs, but the art that they create too, just trying to sell it every day. Sometimes they're just like, oh, I gotta work on this, and you don't want to feel that way, but sometimes some of them have to, because they have to take care of their families. It's survival mode, is what it is. So I truly understand where that comment that he's making.
Thanks, Stephanie. Michaela Thompson, I want to bring you back into the conversation as we begin to wind down the show, because we heard from some of the other guests earlier. Roberta was talking about the importance of knowing how to talk and present your business. And I always think of that phrase, elevator speech, right? Everybody should have like that 30-second elevator speech to explain what their business is or what their career is all about. And I know I struggle with that sometimes, having to explain it concisely and quickly to people. What's your advice and what's your thoughts in terms of how to come up with a good elevator speech for your side hustle?
I would say just get to the point. Know exactly what your business does, what you provide, what sets you apart from other people, and start with that, and then break it down and dig deeper and deeper from there. I know and as anybody who knows me, I am the most impatient person, except for when I do beadwork. That's when I'm calm and I'm chill. So when I'm talking to people, like, what do I want to hear first? What's the point? Get to the point as to what you do. So start with that, and then get into the details as to what sets you apart from other people. And I think that's a good place to start.
All right. Thank you, Michaela. Roxanne Best, how about you? What advice can you offer for folks to really sell and pitch their side hustles to other people, maybe other employers or business partners, anyone?
Yeah, I think the first thing is know what you do so you can speak about what you do. And then second is be conversational, ask questions. Don't be a fire hose spouting all the things, because like Michaela said, our attention spans are low. So get to the point.
Get to the point. And with that, we need to wrap up the show because we're just about out of time. So I'm going to do a little bit of task triage here, Roxanne, and wind down our conversation. But before I do, I want to thank all of our guests who joined us today. They were all wonderful, really, really provided a lot of great insights for our listeners. Roxanne Best, Roberta Begay, Stephanie Garcia, and Michaela Thompson. And just because the show has to end doesn't mean this dialogue has to end. Please engage with us on our social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. We also have Blue Sky and Threads. Post, like, comment. Tell us what you learned from today's show, or go to our website, nativeamericacalling.com, and you can leave a comment there as well. And also, don't forget, join us again tomorrow. We'll have another conversation. We'll be talking about the evolving landscape for tribal sports betting. I hope you'll tune in. Until then, I'm your host, Sean Spruce. Have a great rest of your day.
Every family caregiver could use help finding the necessary resources to care for their loved one. The AARP Family Caregiver Resource Guide helps family caregivers access key programs, services, and agencies in their communities. A copy of the guide is available by calling 877-333-5885 or online at aarp.org/caregiver-resources. AARP supports this show.
Support by the American Indian College Fund.
The American Indian College Fund provides millions of dollars of scholarships to thousands of Native students every year. Tribal citizens of every age and experience are eligible. The deadline for applications is May 31st, and you can find everything you need to apply at collegefund.org. That's collegefund.org or by phone at 800-766-FUND. Education is the answer.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.